South Korea and the U.S. will launch their key combined military exercise, Ulji Freedom Shield, later this month amid much heightened tensions on the Korean peninsula. The meeting of the leaders of South Korea, the U.S., and Japan is coming up at a high-stakes moment as Seoul's top office has made this event official, with the focal point on forging joint drills that will include tracking and destroy ballistic missiles. As the nation celebrates its Liberation Day tomorrow, there's a story tonight about Korean independence fighter Choi Jae-hyung and his wife being reunited in spirit after a century-long separation. It's August 14th, 2023. This is News Center. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Heung-min. Starting next week, South Korea and the U.S. will hold their annual summertime combined military exercise to ramp up their defense readiness. This will involve computer-simulated command post exercises and large-scale field trainings, while U.S. Space Forces will newly join the drills. Our defense correspondent Pyongyang leads us off.
Military forces from South Korea and the U.S. have announced that they will hold their annual summertime combined exercise later this month to further strengthen their response capabilities. In a joint press briefing on Monday, the two countries revealed that this year's Ulji Freedom Shield exercise, which is a computer-simulated command post exercise, will be based on scenarios that reflect North Korea's evolving nuclear missile capabilities and lessons learned from recent wars.
South Korea and the U.S. have decided to conduct the Ulji Freedom Shield exercise from August 21st to 31st to establish a joint defense posture.
Throughout this period, the Allies also plan to carry out about 30 combined field training events, more than double compared to last year. They will reportedly be the largest of their kind in recent years. Seoul's Joint Chiefs of Staff explains that this year's exercise will also include drills on responses to cyber attacks and terrorism. And an official from the U.S. Forces Korea said its Space Forces will newly join the exercise.
Since last UFS, one of the changes that we do have now is a Space Force. So going throughout this exercise, one of the things that we will be focusing on is how, for commanders to be able to focus on, is how do we incorporate multi-domain operations? You have the space component, you have the land component, air, sea, cyber, and the cognitive domains.
In December last year, the American military launched a Space Force unit in South Korea under the U.S. Forces Korea Command to focus on coordinating space operations, such as missile warning, position navigation and timing, and satellite communications within the region. Prior to the Ulji Freedom Shield starting Tuesday, a 4-day crisis management exercise will take place, focusing on procedures to respond to pre-war scenarios. Pyongyang, Arirang News.
Later this week, President Yoon will depart for the U.S. for the three-way summit with his U.S. and Japanese counterparts. They are set to discuss launching a trilateral cooperative mechanism to tackle North Korea and other regional challenges, which could include joint missile interception training. Our top office correspondent Oh Soo-young has more.
South Korea, the United States and Japan are discussing joint drills to intercept missiles as part of their trilateral security cooperation against North Korea's threats. That's according to a Seoul presidential official Monday, after a US media reported that the three governments will agree on holding annual joint drills, which would include missile interception exercises using radar, satellite and integrated weapon systems. The official said the three countries were coordinating ahead of the Camp David talks this week between Presidents Yoon Suk-yeol, Joe Biden and Prime Minister Fumio Kishida. However, he added that it's too early to comment on whether such developments would mean that Seoul and Tokyo will become part of Washington's missile defense system. Gathering at the secluded presidential venue on Friday, the leaders plan to first and foremost establish a trilateral system for multi-layered cooperation to face security and economic challenges in the Indo-Pacific region. This includes strengthening their joint response to North Korea's growing nuclear missile capabilities with practical military measures. Another key agenda item is cooperating to procure economic security with talks on supply chains, energy and advanced technologies. With the trilateral framework to strengthen their policy coordination on various issues, the trio also plan to join forces with other regional players like the Association of Southeast Asian Nations and the North Atlantic Treaty Organization to ensure freedom, peace and prosperity in the Indo-Pacific. With the focus on cooperation, a senior official said that the leaders won't discuss Japan's release of Fukushima wastewater and that their joint statement is unlikely to include strong words on China. The Camp David meeting is the first ever standalone summit to be held by the three countries. Their dialogues began in 1994 and were always held on the sidelines of other international events. The talks on Friday add further momentum to fast improving relations between Seoul and Tokyo after the neighbours fully restored bilateral trade and intel sharing in recent months. Seoul says bilateral summits are also likely to take place after a luncheon and a joint press conference at Camp David, marking the longest time that the three countries' leaders have spent together. Officials say that the Camp David meeting will make diplomatic history in the 21st century and a paradigm shift in Indo-Pacific security. 오수영, Arirang News.
South Korea will forcefully respond to Pyongyang's threats to the Korean peninsula based on strong ties with the U.S. That's according to South Korea's Unification Ministry on Monday, responding to North Korean leader Kim Jong-un recently visiting weapons factories, adding that it will not try to explain Kim's actions and that the North should instead prioritize improving public welfare. The ministry also said it's shameful to see Pyongyang focusing on military parades, as the most recent was the regime's second this year. Pyongyang earlier said it had discussed holding a military parade next month to celebrate National Foundation Day. Never before has North Korea held three in the same year under the rule of Kim Jong-un. A day before Korea's National Liberation Day, South Korea's independence fighter Choi Jae-hyung and his wife have been posthumously reunited in spirit after being separated for over 100 years. The Patriots Ministry brought back the remains of the fighter's wife from Kyrgyzstan to finally enshrine the couple together at Seoul National Cemetery. Choi Min-jung reports.
The remains of Elena Petrovna Choi have been symbolically reunited with her husband, Korean independence fighter Choi Jae-hyung, after a century-long separation. A day before Korea's National Liberation Day on Monday, the Ministry of Patriots and Veterans Affairs interred the remains in the grave, honoring Choi Jae-hyung in Seoul National Cemetery. Choi's remains have yet to be found following his death at the hands of the Imperial Japanese Army in 1920. Choi, who moved to Russia with his parents at the age of 9, was a successful businessman during the Japanese colonial era. He used his wealth to finance independence fighters and to support hundreds of thousands of Korean immigrants in Siberia.
Choi Jae-hyung is a really big star in the history of our independence movement. Although it took us some time, it symbolizes how much our country respects those who devoted themselves to the country.
Previously, under the National Cemetery Act, memorial tablets for patriotic martyrs whose bodies were never recovered could not be placed in Seoul National Cemetery. The Patriots Ministry, however, amended the law, which from July enabled the placement of these tablets on graves prepared for these patriots, together with the remains of their spouses. This is why the remains of Elena Petrovna Choi were brought back from Kyrgyzstan to Korea last week, the first such action in 70 years.
As soon as I became the head of the ministry, I heard about the unfortunate story of Choi. I argued that Choi must be enshrined in Seoul National Cemetery, even if that meant changing the law. It wasn't easy, but we tried endlessly to persuade the National Assembly.
The minister said that it was important for South Korea to quickly bring back surviving patriots and the remains of independence fighters. He also added that he hopes more descendants get the opportunity to remember and respect the achievements of those who fought for Korea's liberation.
Family members from Russia and other countries came all the way to South Korea for the burial ceremony, and the Korean public also paid tribute, thanking the couple for their sacrifice and dedication for Korea's independence. Choi Min-jung, Arirang News.
Another round of special pardons under the Yoon administration was announced today, ahead of the country's Liberation Day. The government and the industries hope this contribute to boosting the economy as the list contains major business figures, while some raise concerns. Our Kim Do-yeon takes a closer look.
President Yoon Suk-yeol pardoned 2,176 people on Monday and removed administrative sanctions on more than 800,000 individuals to commemorate the upcoming August 15 Liberation Day. It's customary for a president to grant pardons on Liberation Day and New Year's Day, and this makes it the third time for President Yoon to do so. They will go into effect as of midnight Tuesday.
This amnesty aims to invigorate our economy amidst challenging domestic and international conditions and promote the recovery of the underprivileged in our society. Accordingly, we have carefully and strictly determined the recipients and scope of the amnesty by listening to various opinions from all sectors.
On the list were 12 major businessmen. One of the most famous is Lee Jung-gun, the founder of the Pyongyang Group and a key figure in introducing rental housing to South Korea. He's already finished his sentence for embezzlement and tax evasion, but still has a 5-year employment restriction in effect. The pardon will lift this. Reacting to the news, the Federation of Korean Industries said in a statement, "This pardon reminds us of the duty to promote national prosperity through our businesses. We commit to striving our best to meet the people's expectations for stability and economic recovery." This isn't the first time President Yoon has pardoned a business mogul. Specifically, Samsung Electronics chairman Lee Jae-yong was pardoned last Liberation Day for the same purpose, to boost the economy. However, some economic and business experts are expressing concern over such pardons.
When pardons are given to business leaders, the preventative effect against their crimes will weaken. Hence, it won't boost industrial competitiveness. I think it could actually have the opposite effect.
Along with the key business figures, 74 owners of small and medium-sized businesses and small traders were also pardoned, and some say this will be of more practical help to the economy.
Why they were under criminal charges was because of the pandemic or the economic recession, and their business went down to give them a second opportunity to boost up the domestic economy and to grow the economy. Those kind of measures were positive, in my opinion.
Meanwhile, a political pardon was also granted to former Gangso-gu District Mayor Kim Tae-woo, who was removed from his position and is serving time for leaking information on the former Moon Jae-in administration to the media. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
Although consumer price growth at home has somewhat eased as of late, people feel prices of everyday essentials remain high. Or Lee Soo-jin went to see how they are coping with the costs.
South Korean residents continue to grapple with high costs. Despite the recent slowdown in consumer price growth, inflation continues to be a serious concern for many.
I have more things to buy since it's the summer holiday season, but it feels as though the prices I saw today were even higher than they were yesterday.
The Korea Development Institute, a state-run economic think tank, recently revised its annual inflation estimate upwards to 3.5% from 3.4%. What are some ways residents use to cope with the high prices? An increasing number of people are using half-price delivery services offered by convenience stores.
We are currently delivering around 1 million packages each month.
Half-price delivery services allow customers to send packages from a convenience store for them to be picked up at any branch of the same convenience store chain. They're dubbed half-price delivery services because they're roughly half the price of the regular postal service.
It's cheaper than regular postal services because we use our own logistics system.
Because they're available at convenience stores across the nation, they're also much more accessible.
There are convenience stores everywhere, and they're always operating, so it's available for 365 days, 24/7.
People are also cutting spending by shopping at refurbished stores. Refurbished stores offer goods that have been returned by customers or by companies due to minor manufacturing flaws at discounted prices. A wide variety of items from clothes to home appliances are available, and they're in almost pristine condition.
Our employees unbox all the products that come in to inspect their quality.
There has been an increase in customers since prices began rising.
I come here often. I'm able to buy products that I want at a cheaper price. The quality is great. I actually just bought something.
One expert says that these options are popular because the slowdown in consumer price growth has not yet brought relief for customers.
While the index has gone down, the prices of many everyday essentials that people need remain high.
As concerns over rising costs remain high, the number of people seeking affordable options, such as half-price delivery services and items that have been refurbished, is expected to continue to grow. Lee Soo-jin, Arirang News.
Over in Hawaii, the worst wildfires in a century has killed at least 93 people. Some residents point out that there has been a lack of preventative measures. An Sung-jin has the latest.
The fires that are sweeping through the island of Maui are already the deadliest U.S. wildfires in more than 100 years. The Maui Chief of Police, John Pelletier, said at least 93 people have been killed as of last Saturday in the town of Lahaina. The number is expected to climb with only 3% of the damaged area searched so far.
Within 6 hours, the President of the United States approved our declaration so that we can get resources to those families who are struggling the most.
He added that dry conditions from the hurricane-level winds may have contributed to the blaze. However, whether officials took a prompt response for the initial fire is in question. This comes amid the lawsuit from 3 law firms on behalf of the wildfire victims, filed against Hawaii Electric, arguing that the fires were preventable had the utility company shut off its power lines ahead of the strong winds. Residents say they weren't aware of any warnings or notices beforehand.
Now, I don't know if the alarms went off or if they were burnt. I can't tell you that because I wasn't in Lahaina.
Hawaii Wildfire Management Organization says that the fire was foreseeable, citing the Maui County Report on Wildfire Prevention from 2021, which stated that despite the extreme risk from wildfires in the Lahaina area, funds to prevent them remain inadequate. The federal government is deploying more than 250 Federal Emergency Management Agency personnel. South Korea's Ministry of Foreign Affairs also announced its efforts to provide $2 million worth humanitarian aid. South Korea is to provide relief supplies, such as drinking water, food, and other necessities, as well as cash support for local relief organizations. The South Korean Consulate General in Honolulu noted that no casualties were reported among South Korean tourists, as well as residents, though the fire burnt down more than 10 Korean resident-owned buildings. An Sung-jin, Arirang News.
Time now to take a look at what's been happening in the world of sports. Joining us is our sports editor, Paul Neat. Evening, Paul.
Evening.
Let's first start with football. Heung-min is the captain for club and country now. What can you tell us?
Yes, he's been given the armband for Tottenham now as well. He's their new captain. This comes following the departure of Harry Kane and the expected departure of previous club captain Hugo Lloris. New manager Ange Postecoglou says that Son has a great leadership qualities on and off the pitch and is the ideal choice. But Son's first match as new captain didn't quite go to plan. He gave away a penalty in a 2-2 draw away to Brentford on Sunday for the team's Premier League season opener. And while it was also the first game in charge for Postecoglou, it was the first match without Harry Kane, who last week joined Bayern Munich. This marks the end of the Son-Kane duo that broke Premier League goal-scoring records. They combined for 43 goals in total, a Premier League record, and in 2021 set the record for the most goal combinations in a single season with 14. Son, of course, is the captain of the South Korean national team and has been for a number of years now.
And sticking with football, the Women's World Cup is down to the final four.
Yes, hosts Australia knocked out France on Saturday following a dramatic penalty shootout. Following a 0-0 draw, Australia emerged the winners following the shootout, which ended 7-6 in their favour. But the teams took 10 spot kicks each and saw lots of twists and turns, including goalkeepers taking penalties. Courtney Vine puts home the winning penalty for Australia to set up a semi-final with England on Wednesday. The other semi is Spain against Sweden on Tuesday. Sweden beat Japan to make it into the final four. Spain beat the Netherlands, and the final will take place this Sunday.
And moving on to baseball, a long-awaited win for Heung-min.
Yes, something he hasn't been able to do since May 2022. Heung-min on Sunday local time helped the Toronto Blue Jays beat the Chicago Cubs 11-4. Liu was the starting pitcher and didn't give up any runs in the 5 innings he was on the mound for. He did give up 2 hits, though, and 2 walks, but struck out 3. It helped the Blue Jays pick up a first win in 4 matches. He mostly used his fastball, 47% of the time to be exact, but also his changeup at 28%, as well as cutter and curveball, his usual mix. The average speed of his fastball was 88.4 miles per hour, slightly below what he would do in previous seasons. Liu recently returned from an elbow injury, which had kept him out for over a year.
And lastly, to golf. No fewer than 4 South Koreans remain in the PGA Tour playoff. Who are they?
Well, we have Im Sung-jae, Kim Ju-hyung, Kim Si-yoo and An Byung-hun. All 4 rank in the top 50 in the FedEx Cup standings after Sunday's St. Jude Championship in Memphis. Im Sung-jae is the highest ranked. He finished tied for 6th at 11 under 269. Kim Si-yoo is next, tied for 16th at 9 under 271. Kim Ju-hyung, or Tom Kim as he's called on the PGA Tour, is tied for 24th at 7 under. And finally, An Byung-hun is tied for 37th. He finished at 5 under. The top 70 made it through to this playoff, and then the top 50 will qualify for the BMW Championships this Thursday in Olympia Fields, Illinois. Then the top 30 will go through to the Tour Championship on August 24th.
And in the women's game, there is a top 3 finish for Shin Ji-ae.
Yes, that's right. It was in the AIG Women's Open, which is, of course, a major in the LPGA. At the Walton Heath Old Course in Surrey, England, the former world number 1, Shin Ji-ae finished tied for 3rd after recording a 7 under par, 281. It was her 2nd top 5 finish in an LPGA major this year. She finished just ahead of fellow Koreans Amy Yang and Kim Hyo-ju. At the Women's Open in July, Shin finished 4th for what was her first top 10 finish at a major since 2013.
All right, thanks for that, Paul. See you next week.
Thank you. See you.
Tomorrow is National Liberation Day here in South Korea, and weather conditions look fairly moderate in Seoul. Partly cloudy skies are expected with highs of 32 degrees Celsius. Most of South Korea is currently under heat wave advisories. This means that sensible temperatures surpass 33 degrees for the daytime. Chances are high that they will stay in place tomorrow as well. Under such extreme heat, there is a high risk of heat-related illnesses, so drink plenty of water to stay hydrated. Parts of Gangwon-do province will see brief showers tomorrow daytime. On and off showers of 5 to 20 millimeters are expected. Due to unstable atmospheric conditions, thunder and lightning may also follow at times. Also, for those across the coastlines, please be extra careful of ocean waves. Breaking waves and powerful rip currents with ocean water may sweep across shorelines and periodically overtop nearby roadways. Overcast skies are expected for the morning hours tomorrow. Seoul will be starting off at 25 degrees. Highs in Seoul will peak at 32, Daejeon and Gwangju 33, Busan will be reaching 32 degrees. And for the remainder of the week, similar weather conditions will prevail in Seoul with highs hovering around 32 degrees Celsius. That's all for now, and here are the weather conditions around the world. That is News Center for tonight. Thank you for watching. A panel session is coming up.